As the Raiders continue to prepare for the draft coming up at the end of April, had some pretty big visits and pretty big names come to Las Vegas. We'll tell you about that, plus more on Thursday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for April 10th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. Show continues to grow each and every day, obviously because of your consistent support, checking in with the show on the daily, plus the job that my man Ari does behind the scenes on the YouTube page, second to none. He really holds it down, make sure we look good and sound good each and every day. So we appreciate him. We shout him out. You can find him on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, as many of you do, 707-654-4693. It's the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line. As a matter of fact, we'll hear from you as we close things out as we normally do. Segment number 3, a lot of calls, a lot of texts, a lot more mock drafts. Pro Football Focus, the mock draft simulator. A lot of you have taken the challenge, Raider Nation, and gone and tested your skill set when it comes to the draft. And I've said it many times. I'll continue to say it many more times. Don't go there if you don't have a lot of time to spare. Like, if you got to leave the house in 15 minutes, don't go there. Guess what? You're not leaving in 15 minutes. You may be leaving in 20. You may be leaving in 25. You're not going to be leaving in 15. So if you have some time to spare, go ahead to the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator. If you're in a hurry, just wait. Wait till the weekend, brother. Just wait till the weekend. It'll make a lot more sense then, because, again, similar to Pringles back in the day when they said you can't eat just one, you're not going to do just one mock draft. I promise you, if you go to that Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator. But plenty of feedback on that, and we'll get as much in as possible coming up. Segment number 3. Speaking of mock draft, segment number 2, Mel Kiper Jr., my guy from ESPN. He did his final pre-draft conference call on Wednesday, 1 hour long, 1 hour strong. A lot of good stuff, all NFL draft related. We'll focus in on the running backs position when it comes to Ashton Genty, when it comes to Cam Scatterboo, when it comes to Marion Hampton, Devin Neal, running backs like that. We talk about how deep this running back class really is, the depth of it. We'll talk about that. You'll hear what Mel has to say. We'll really focus in on the running back position here in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. We'll close out the week hearing from other positions that Mel had to talk about on that conference call. So that's how we'll close out the week. The next 2 days is Mel Kiper in segment number 2 today, running backs, and others on Friday. If that's okay with you, that's how we'll rock and roll, unless something really big comes up and we have to go ahead and turn our attention elsewhere. But that's the plan as of right now. So Mel Kiper Jr. talking all things running backs in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, news and notes, and it really just has to do with a lot of guys visiting the silver and black. And we'll get into that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, and that's Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create the account, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. So I try to continue to let you know and update you on all the different visitors that come in to see the Raiders, and they've got the top 30 visits, right? I mean, every team does. Doesn't mean that they're going to draft these guys just because they're visiting with them, but I thought it's worth mentioning, especially since the Raiders have some big names that they've been visiting with or will be visiting with. So Albert Breer, Monday Morning Quarterback, SI.com, does a fantastic job, NFL insider for a very long time. He tweeted out, matter of fact, had multiple tweets on Wednesday. He said, the Raiders have a big group in for 30 visits today. LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart, Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham, Ohio State quarterback Will Howard, Boise State running back Ashton Genty, and Michigan outside linebacker Josiah Stewart. All those guys in Vegas. And when it comes to Quinn Ewers, he actually visited on Tuesday and wrapped up his visit on Wednesday. Then he headed off to Indianapolis, and he'll be visiting with the Colts today. So that's a bunch of names right there. Obviously, the Raiders are looking at all these different guys and then some, right? I mean, and look, we've learned this over the years of not only following the Raiders, but just following the NFL. Just because you have these guys in for visits don't mean that they're at the top of your board. Most likely their board is already set. They have a great idea of what direction they want to go. They're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But offensive tackle Will Campbell, that's a guy that's a top 10 pick. Jackson Dart, that guy is probably going to be a first-round pick. He's the guy that's going to be in Green Bay in the green room for the draft, so that means that he expects to go in the first round. Now, Quinn Ewers, he's a late day 2, early day 3 type guy, but Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham, he's a top 5 pick, maybe a top 6 if he's still there, but he's not getting out of the top 10 in my opinion. Ohio State quarterback Will Howard, he's kind of on the Quinn Ewers type path right there, but obviously has familiarity with offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, so there's that. And then Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. We already know all roads lead to the Raiders when it comes to Ashton Jeanty. And oh, by the way, they need linebacker help too. So Josiah Stewart from Michigan, that's not a bad visit either. So obviously the Raiders are not leaving any stone unturned, which is exactly what they're supposed to do. Also, not only that, those are the guys that visited this week. Coming up, and this is also from Albert Breer, he said the Raiders have a 30 visit slated for Monday with Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. So they have Geno Smith locked up through 2027, Sanders, Ewers, Howard, and Dart all visiting. Vegas is kicking the tires on developing a quarterback behind him. And this is something we've been talking about ever since the Geno Smith trade went down. This really changes no plans that the Raiders had. No matter what they wanted to do going into the draft at the quarterback position or any other position, they can do that. They have Geno Smith. They have the flexibility. If they want to draft a quarterback early, they can. If they want to draft a quarterback late, they can. But they're obviously kicking the tires on all the quarterbacks, and I believe they already spoke to Jalen Milroe as well. So they're, again, exploring and talking to and visiting with all the quarterbacks. Not mad at that at all. Side note, how cool is this? Shedeur Sanders was at Liberty High School in Henderson and actually visited and talked with and answered a bunch of questions, took pizzas to the Liberty High School football team. How cool is that? Like, if you're a high school football player and then all of a sudden this guy that's about to go to the draft, regardless who it is, this guy who's going to get drafted, he's going to get drafted somewhere in the first round coming up at the end of the month. He's at your high school while you're going through spring football practice, and he's talking with you and, just chopping it up and taking time to, answer any questions you might have. That's a pretty cool little nugget. I happen to see that, and the head football coach there at Liberty is actually going to be a guest on my radio show later on this afternoon to talk about it. So I'm pretty excited about that. If he has anything like really super cool that Shedeur had to say, I'll definitely bring it to the podcast as well coming up on Friday. So those are all from Albert Breer. How about this interesting little nugget right here from Tashawn Reed from The Athletic? He tweeted out on Wednesday, the Raiders are hosting UCLA linebacker Carson Schwetzinger, a top 30 visit today per source. The 6'2", 242-pounder had a breakout year in 24 with 136 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. He was excellent in coverage, played for offensive coordinator Chip Kelly from 2021 to 23, could fill a significant need at linebacker. I just think that's hilarious. Right? I mean, my guy, Raider Educator, brought him up a couple days ago. Hell, I've played the call now multiple times on the show just because it just blows my mind that he brought up his name. I wasn't really paying attention to a lot of UCLA football last season because they weren't very good. And I was paying attention to a lot of other programs just because, you can only watch so much. And the ones that really caught my attention were not named UCLA. But shout out to Raider Educator for being Johnny on the spot when it came to that. He's the one who identified Carson as a potential pick for the Raiders. I thought maybe it'll be a little bit later on the draft. Then all of a sudden I see Mel Kiper Jr. come out with his mock draft 4.0 earlier in the week, and he has him slotted at number 37, which is the Raiders' second-round pick, right? And so it's unbelievable how Raider Educator brought him up. Then all of a sudden, Mel Kiper has him mocked in round 2. Then the Raiders have him in for a visit on Wednesday. Like, is somebody listening to what Raider Educator's got to say? It's almost that scenario, and I brought this up on my radio show. It's like when you say something out loud. For me, it would be like talking about Nikes or, hey, man, did you see those Nikes? Oh, man, those latest Nikes are really cool. Yeah, I need to get some. Then all of a sudden on your computer, like a Nike ad pops up, and you're like, whoa, hold on. How did that just happen? That's what it feels like when it comes to Carson Schwetzinger and the fact that all of a sudden on the show he's been brought up, the last 3 days in a row, maybe 4 days in a row, and it all started with my guy, Raider Educator. So thanks so much for that. Really good nugget and way to be ahead of things. Coming up in segment number 2, Mel Kiper Jr. from ESPN had his pre-draft conference call. I got some good sound bites from him when it comes to all things running backs. Of course, we've got to talk about the Raiders and taking Ashton Jeanty and why he has him selected there at number 6. But we'll deep dive into all things running backs coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, and that's Gametime. There's nothing like the energy of a live game, whether it's catching a last-minute baseball showdown, soaking in the excitement of an NBA matchup like that Lakers and Dallas game was on Wednesday night, finding great seats at a great price. That used to be a challenge until Game Time. Game Time makes scoring last-minute tickets easier than ever. Prices actually drop as the event gets closer. And with all their in-pricing, you see the total cost up front, so there's no surprises at checkout. They have last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever the case may be. And you can get those last-minute seats. You can get them quick, fast, in a hurry, and you can actually see them before you buy. So there's no surprise fees, and there's no surprise when you actually get to the seat. They've got the lowest price guarantee. You could book with total confidence. So their lowest price guarantee means you never have to worry about overpaying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to get into the running back part of the conversation when it came to Mel Kiper Jr. and his pre-draft conference call, the final one he has before the draft gets underway April 24th in Green Bay. He's got his final mock draft out, his 4.0. Ashton Jeanty and then Carson Schwarzenegger, the linebacker from UCLA, he's got in his 2-round mock draft for the Silver and Black. So one of the first questions obviously is about Ashton Jeanty and the fact that, well, all roads lead to the Raiders. So Mel Kiper was asked if he could see Ashton Jeanty going anywhere but the Raiders, either earlier or maybe even a little bit later. Here's Mel Kiper on Ashton Jeanty going somewhere outside of Las Vegas.
It would be a surprise that if he didn't go, and I'll say Vegas because of they couldn't run the football. Geno Smith is going to be there and playing at a high level, probably for what you would hope 3 years. That's what the contract tells you. So, and then Pete Carroll loves him. He loves Pete. He brought out the best Pete Carroll did in Geno Smith. They're reunited. I think he wants to help Geno, and they could not run the football. And, to me, Ashton Jeanty can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's spunky, tough. He'll block. And he's an electrifying runner. I mean, you just can't get him to the ground. He's tough to locate, number one, behind those big linemen. And then once he hits you, he's got that burst. You're not going to tackle him. He's granite. He's so strong. He's powerful. And he loves to play the game. He plays the game. He runs with that same passion. So he's a great football player. And I always say, hey, I don't push for running backs in the first round. I always have that rule, but you grade him on ability. He's my 4th highest rated player. Hampton's my 10th highest rated player. And people say Vegas isn't really ready. You don't draft a running back unless you're ready. I don't think the Raiders going into the season thinking they're going to be a 4-win team. So I think Jeanty can certainly be a Rookie of the Year candidate, as can Hampton. They're plug-and-play guys. You know what you're getting right away. It's the only position you can play better as a rookie and you ever play the rest of your career, as long as you can block, and he can. So, if you got Bass there, the Bears would be interesting, Sean. The Bears certainly could use him. Anybody could use him. I mean, he doesn't have the elite back, and the Bears have, a situation where they could look at running back at 39 or 41 in the second round. They could, but if Jeanty were there and the Bears, at 10, are talking about trading down. I don't think you trade down at 10 if Jeanty slides down that far.
Mel Kiper right there, breaking all the reasons down why he thinks that Raiders make the most sense. And it's so funny when you think about, the struggles that the Raiders had running the ball. We know what Pete Carroll wants to do. We know Ashton Jeanty's a special talent, right? It does make all the sense in the world. The question is he going to be there available at 6? It used to be, are they going to make that call at 6? Now it feels like that there could be a case in scenario where he's not even actually there at number 6, which would kind of blow my mind knowing where this conversation started and where it's at right now, still a couple weeks out from the start of the draft. And who knows what twist and turn it's going to take before April 24th. But that's just part of the draft process and how everything goes. And, he's one of those players that I don't think that he's really risen or dropped, right? I mean, a lot of these players, you hear them, they're climbing the mock draft, or, this guy's sliding a little bit. Ashton Jeanty's been kind of solid right there at number 6. But what if he wasn't there? What if he wasn't available at 6? For some reason, maybe Jacksonville, like in our mock draft, went number 5 and took him. Or maybe the Raiders passed on him at number 6, or whatever the case may be. Do they go with the best player available, or should they attempt to trade back? Here's Mel Kiper on that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I gave him Carson Schlesinger in the second round, that linebacker need. So what's sitting there possibly would be Jalen Walker from Georgia. How do they feel about Jalen Walker, who can play off ball and rush the passer from off the edge? Like I said, I haven't taken Schlesinger from UCLA. It was a borderline first-round pick. It could be a surprise number one pick for somebody, late first-round pick for somebody. It'll be a really good second-round pick if they take Ginty in the first. They got to get a running back. They got to improve that running game. So if you don't take Ginty there, then you're looking at the second round. And that's the problem because, do you love Travion Henderson? Hampton will be gone. So Hampton will be gone. So then you're looking at Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson. How do you feel about them compared to Ginty? I think there's a big gap there. So if you want to run the football and help out Geno Smith, you got to go that round. And I think it works out better for them this way because then in the second round, you're looking at Oladejo from UCLA, Schlesinger's team. They played off ball early on, then moved to outside. So you can use him that way. Schlesinger was a great off-ball linebacker this year at UCLA. So really, you can get one of those UCLA kids or both will be sitting there when they're picking. So I think the better way to go is running back with Ginty, linebacker second round, or even corner like a Trey Amos, Azarie Thomas. Going to be a pretty good corner still there at that point as well. Wide receiver, there's going to be some wide receivers there. Packers have always had great success taking wide receivers in the second round. The Raiders, I think, will see somebody there in the second round that's attractive to them. We talked about would Burden maybe still be there? Would Ibuka still be there? Certainly Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll from Iowa State will be there. Jack Besh from TCU, Savion Williams, a guy I mentioned I like from TCU as well. So I think you're better off, in my opinion, and I'm not a running back in the first round guy, but if they want to help that running game and they need a running back desperately, they're not going to find an Ashton Ginty in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. It ain't going to happen. So if they want to do that, you take Ginty and you worry about, like I say, the linebacker, corner, wide receiver in the second round on.
So he's still holding steadfast. Don't get the best player available. Don't trade back. Just go get Ashton Ginty because, again, there's different levels to it. Like, that's his biggest key, and you'll hear it coming up. The key is there's different levels to the running backs. The class is very, very deep, but Ashton Ginty is the top of the food chain when it comes to the running back position. Omarion Hampton, obviously, he's fantastic as well. As a matter of fact, he was asked if there's a running back worth trading up for, or because of the depth of the trading of the running back position, none of that would make sense. And obviously, if you're going to trade up, you're either looking at Ashton Ginty or Omarion Hampton. But here's Mel Kiper on, is it worth trading up for a running back because of the depth of this class?
Great question, because it's a lot of depth, but depth of quality is where we differ on that, because some of these backs are going to be serviceable. They may not be stars. And I think the stars that are Ashton Ginty and Omarion Hampton. Travion Henderson's going to be a really good accent piece, because he had the durability issues when he was the main guy. Quinshon Judkins, another back who's going to go in the second round possibly, helped him out coming from Ole Miss and took some of that workload away from Henderson, allowed him to stay healthy all year, right? And be the key entity and allowed them to win a national title. So Travion for the Bears at 39 or 41 would look good. Judkins to Denver in the second round. That's where Sean Payton has to decide. Are some of those second round running backs, are we good enough with them, feel strong enough about them to wait for them, or do we need to go get Hampton, who's a cut above?
So just minor right there. There's probably not going to be a whole lot of guys trading up for running backs. The two that are the special ones are Ginty and Hampton. Outside of that, the rest of these guys are probably going to drop. So that brings up the question about Cam Skattebo. I've seen some folks say Cam Skattebo is going to go in the second round. I saw one guy on social media talking about he's going to go in the seventh round. I was like, there's no way he's going in the seventh round. I don't think he's a day one guy. I would actually be surprised if he's even a day two guy, right? But I think he's a running back that definitely is going to have a lot of interest. So here's Mel Kiper on the depth of the running back class, in particular, what Cam Skattebo brings to the table. And then he goes on about a few more of the running backs. Check it out.
Skattebo gives you everything he has. He's got versatility. I think you get into that early portion of day three. We've talked about that running back group and how deep it is, but I don't think this is deep. It's deep with a lot of, as I say, serviceable is the word I use. I mean, guys I'll mention. Brashard Smith can be a third down back, like we see Ty Johnson doing up in Buffalo. Brashard Smith out of SMU can be that guy. I love LaQuint Allen out of Syracuse, a very underrated player. Some people think he's going into day three of the draft. Well, at that point, he's a heck of a pick. Tootin from Virginia Tech has moved up. Good workout, good year. He could maybe be a guy surprised in that fourth round area. Marcus Yarns from Delaware is a guy that has talent and could be a good day 3 pick. Some guys that have dropped from where they were back in August. Ollie Gordon II out of Oklahoma State has dropped a bit from where he was projected to go at that particular point. Jordan James, Oregon, dropped a little bit from where he was. Kyle Monangai from Rutgers dropped a little bit from where he was. So we're kind of all over the place, which puts Scadaboo, to me, I think he's the 8th or 9th best back in the draft. And that would be, in this draft, if you say, it would probably put him in that 4th round mix right now. And as far as, like you say, where the running backs are going to fall, if it does work where Caleb Johnson gets into the late 2nd round, early 3rd round, then you're going to see the guys thereafter, those running backs that I've already talked about, drop into points where they become really good choices. And some of those backs that I'm talking about in terms of that group would be Caleb Johnson. After Caleb Johnson will be Dylan Sampson. I haven't talked about him out of Tennessee. Really good player. Like I mentioned, LaQuint Allen, Trevor Etienne at Georgia's another one. R.J. Harvey at UCF's another one. Devin Neal doesn't test great, but had a heck of a career at Kansas. He was really responsible for the success they had, was Devin Neal. Taj Brooks, underrated back at Texas Tech, runs hard. DJ Giddens at Kansas State. Jaden Blue at Texas. Kalel Mullings, former linebacker, in Michigan, turned running back, has a chance. We'll be on a roster because short yardage goal line, he's really difficult to stop.
So Cam Scadaboo, potentially a 4th round pick. I've talked about the Raiders going and getting a couple running backs. Could you imagine them getting 2, coming out with one guy that's like lightning and him come out the thunder, lightning and thunder, like the Raiders had back in the day with Tyrone Wheatley and Charlie Garner or something like that, some kind of combo like that. One guy who's a bruiser and one guy who's a home run hitter. Like that'd be fantastic. Like Napoleon Kaufman and Tyrone Wheatley back in the day. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I don't think that that's the way that they're going to go, the direction that they're going to go as far as bringing in Cam Scadaboo and Ashton Genty, if that's the direction they go. But I like what he had to say about Cam, and he's a guy that we've talked about quite a bit here on the show. The final soundbite, I'm going to run away from the running backs real quick because this is another scenario, and it was kind of mentioned earlier in one of the questions when it said if Genty's not there at 6, do the Raiders go with the best player available or trade back? What's Mel's process? What goes through his mind when he thinks about trading in general when it comes to the NFL draft? Like what is his rule of thumb when it comes to trades? Check him out.
Yeah, I like trading down. Even when think back to Kansas City, remember when they weren't successful, which was the best trade never made, when they tried to trade up to get Paxton Lynch. Well, they traded down when it didn't happen, and they ended up in the 2nd round, 7-8 picks into the 2nd round. They took Chris Jones, defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. How'd that work out? And you pick up extra choices, and I think that's the way to do it. I think stockpiling picks, having extra resources even next year in terms of draft choices is a way to go. So if you have a group of players bunched together and you feel like you can get one of that group by moving down and still get one of those kids, you can do it. So I'm always an advocate for moving down, always talked about moving down and picking up. I always said in a 7-round draft, I like to have 12 picks if I could, 10, 11, 12 picks if I could get that many. I always want to look at the teams that ended up getting the most draft choice. Remember the Ravens not long ago had 5 4th-round picks, and 4 of those guys have been key entities. So again, or 6 4th-round picks and 4 have been key entities. So those rounds are underrated. They're not talked about enough for we're just talking about where Brady went, late 6th round. So again, Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. So you can find guys, those hidden gems, but I always believe trading down. Now trading up, hey, it's worked for a lot of teams. When you see a guy sliding, go get him. Be aggressive and just go get them. Don't let somebody, the player that you see on your board that has a much higher grade than you thought, and he's sliding, don't let somebody else just take him. Go get him ahead of that team. So, some teams have been patient, let guys like Rodgers slide to them. Roethlisberger slid to the Steelers, but I think the Eagles, Howie Roseman's the master of the draft. Eric DeCosta does a great job in Baltimore. So moving up, moving down, when the situation's right, either way, you got to be aggressive. And to me, the teams that work the draft that way and have a good idea of their board, trust their board, and will take a chance every now and then. Hey, sometimes it's not going to work. You're taking a little bit of a risk when you move off of a pick. You hope one of those guys is there. And when you're moving up, you're targeting a guy, and that's gonna put the focus on that guy because you got to give up assets to get that player. So when you go up and get him, he's going to be a focal point. Everybody's going to be talking about him over the next 3 years. So it puts a little bit more added pressure and when the organization when they do move up.
So he's like a lot of Raider Nation. Trade back. You can always trade back and get more cracks at the apple, get more opportunities. And again, that makes sense if you have the players in line that you don't mind drafting. If you have guys that you're not comfortable with drafting and you see them right there, if there's only one guy that you want to target, don't do it because you might miss out on that guy. Then you might be upset at yourself, even if you do have a couple other picks. He even talked about getting picks for another year. I mean, that's a possibility. And obviously with the Raiders needing as much talent as possible, it's not a bad idea if they're just not sold on someone at, say, that number 6 spot and somebody's calling up. Maybe the Saints. I can see that if the Saints at number 9 want Shador and he's available at 6, I can see the Raiders trading back maybe 3 spots, but make sure that you're comfortable with who you're going to get possibly coming up in the next 3. Like, make sure you have at least 3 or 4 guys that you feel very comfortable drafting at that spot, because if not, then you're going to be upset that you missed out. So I did want to go ahead and squeeze that in as well. Tomorrow, we'll deep dive into other positions. We'll let you hear what he has to say about some quarterbacks. I'll let you hear what he has to say about Shador and offensive linemen and others when it comes to the NFL draft, even how much it's evolved when he started this thing in 1979 when he started doing this talent evaluation and NFL draft breakdown. So that'll be coming up on tomorrow's show. But coming up next, we'll hear from you. Your calls and texts, 707-654-4693 as we close out today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts. We have that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with a call from Raider Eddie in Denver, calling to ask questions and share concerns about the Raiders offensive line. Here he is, Raider Eddie in Denver.
Hey, what's up? This is Raider Eddie in Denver. Hey, I want to ask you about a couple metrics that an analyst on YouTube brought up recently. His name's Brett Coleman. And he brought up the metric of yards before contact on a rushing play, and he brought up yards per play for a rushing play. And the Raiders ranked right near the very bottom or at the absolute bottom for both of those metrics for last season. And according to Brett, the floor of the running game is the yards before contact. So the suggestion there is we've got to improve the blocking, we've got to improve the offensive line and the scheme. That's why, Q, I think it's really important for us to improve the offensive line. I don't think we've done a lot of improvement in the offensive line in the offseason. I think we need to get better, much better at the offensive line. I want to get your opinion on Colton Miller. He's been injured for 2 years now, a little banged up for the past 2 seasons. I think he can still be a good tackle, but I don't know how healthy he's going to be. I don't know if he can be healthy for a full season. And then we got DJ Glaze, who I think was a 3rd-round pick. I don't know how he graded. I don't know what the thoughts are about him. I just don't know if he's a starting caliber right tackle. But to me, Q, I think we've got to improve the floor of the running game first and then improve the running back position after that. Trying to improve at guard or tackle are really hard to do in the draft and expensive to do in free agency. So I think we really need to try to prioritize offensive tackle early in this draft, probably with the first pick that we have in the draft. So again, just want to get your thoughts on that. I also want to ask you about Munford. A lot of people were saying last season that Munford is no question a starting right tackle for us, no worries at all. We don't need to take an offensive tackle in last year's draft. I didn't see it that way. We did get Bowers, but we didn't really improve the offensive line that much, except for possibly DJ Glaze. Can you tell me what's going on with Munford? Do you think they're going to consider him as a swing tackle or maybe as a depth piece on the offensive line, or are they going to look at him as a guard? So, Q, just want to get your thoughts on that, and go Raiders.
Raider Eddie, thanks for the call. Appreciate you as always. The offensive line has been a question. I've had it, right? Have they done enough to address it? Are they really comfortable? It's every NFL insider or any insider that covers the Raiders, like Vic Tafur, Vinny Bonsignore, Tashawn Reed, right? All these guys I've asked that question to get their thoughts. How do you think that the Raiders really, truly feel about their offensive line? Pete Carroll told us at the scouting combine in Indianapolis, he was pretty happy with them. And Vic Tafur told me just on Wednesday, he thinks they feel pretty good about it. He thinks they're going to address the O-line, but a little bit later on in the draft, not necessarily early on. So that was always been my big concern. You know, they were sacked 50 times last season, right? Only Caleb Williams was sacked more than the Raiders got sacked last year. Their quarterbacks, and obviously their offensive line wasn't able to open up holes for the running game. Some of that was on the running backs. Also, some of that was on the offensive line. As far as the right tackle goes, DJ Glaze, little question there, right? Is he going to be able to be that guy to hold it down? He got thrown into the mix last year because Thayer Munford, we didn't say that Thayer Munford was the guy and they didn't need to go draft a right tackle. Matter of fact, we all thought that if they didn't get a quarterback in round 1, they were going to go with the offensive lineman. Thayer Munford is the one who said they don't need to draft a right tackle. He came out and told us at practice at a mandatory minicamp, I'm the right tackle. I'm going to hold that spot down. They don't need to draft a guy. He told us very as a matter of fact. And he even said, I hear all the people saying that they need to draft a right tackle. They don't need to do that. I got the spot held down. And so we thought, okay, well, maybe they've told him something that we didn't know about. Get to Costa Mesa, California, first day of training camp, he hurts himself. DJ Glaze gets thrown into action. So I think that DJ Glaze is going to have some competition there for that spot moving forward. And I think Thayer Munford is probably going to be what you said, probably a swing tackle, maybe a guy that they kick inside the guard, a guy that they bring in, in packages, whatever the case may be. He just hasn't shown that the durability is there to be an everyday starter or every down starter. So thanks so much for the call. Like I said, always appreciate to hear from you. Up next, got a text from B Prime from the 269. Yo, Q. B Prime from the 269. With all this Genty talk, which I really do like him, if Mason Graham is there at 6, you have to take Graham. The running back class is so deep. Genty is amazing, but competition matters as well. And I don't want to talk bad about Genty or think that I am, but if he played in the Big Ten like Henderson and Judkins or Johnson, he wouldn't have had 2,600 yards. Is there another defensive tackle like Graham in the draft? Multiple state champion wrestler. He's got a motor like Max. It could play for 10-plus years. In my opinion, Graham can make more of a difference at 6 than Genty right now. Too many good running backs in this draft to pass up on another talent. Just my opinion. I know people won't have the same opinion as me, but if he's there at 6, I would take him. Only player I would take over Graham would be Hunter, but he's going to be gone. I'm just getting to the point. Too many good running backs in this class to focus on one. There's going to be some great ones around in rounds 2 and 4. As always, Q, keep doing what you're doing. That's B Prime from the 269. That's been the big conversation. And we heard from Mel Kiper in segment number 2 where, Genty is a class above everybody else. There's a lot of depth in the running back position in the group, the draft class, but they're not Genty. Genty's a special dude. Now, I think it would be a very tough decision if Genty's there and Graham's there, right? Pete Carroll's a defensive-minded dude. Would he like to make his defense stronger, the defensive line, a strength even better, or would he want to get that running back? That would be a great question. John Spytek, how does he feel about it? I know from his time in Tampa Bay and Philadelphia and Denver, they love to build from the inside out, the trenches, right? So would they do that for every reason that you mentioned? That's a strong possibility. I didn't think there was a chance Mason Graham would be available at number 6, but even on our mock draft, after Genty went number 5 to the Jaguars, all of a sudden Graham was there, and he slid all the way to 9, where the Saints ended up taking him. So it's pretty wild, man. I mean, again, you just never know how this scenario is going to play out when it comes to these drafts, but it's just it's something to think about for sure. Think about this. If Graham is on the board and Genty's on the board and Shadour's on the board, they could have a dilemma at 3 what they want to do. And on top of that, they probably have some phone calls coming in of teams that might want to trade up for one of those guys as well. So they might have options there. So they really could have 4 different options or directions that they go based on what's going on at that time. And they only got, 15 minutes to make a decision, even though obviously they'd already be thinking about it and already have talked to some folks on the phone. Hey, if this guy happens to drop, we'd like to, find out what it's going to take to get a trade done. So you pick your poison, pick your direction, right? It's like pick your path, that book back in the day where you can go one direction or another direction. Go ahead and do it. Thanks for the text. Appreciate that. Up next, got a call from Gonzo Raider in the 505. Calling with a simple, short, sweet message. Here he is, Gonzo Raider in the 505.
Hey, Q, Gonzo Raider here from the 505. Enough draft talk. I'm not even going to get into the draft. Whoever we get, we just need some wins. Let's go, baby. Raiders!
Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate you. And, hey, the draft will be here before you know it, right? It's still a couple weeks away. After that, it won't be about what could happen, but instead it'll be about what did happen, right? You see why I didn't start talking about the draft too early? Remember all the times that everyone's like, oh, man, we should start worrying about the draft. There was 5 weeks left in the season. No, because this process is so long and we talk about the draft so much that there's no way I was going to start early. That's called learning from past mistakes. Don't want to do that. Don't want to just wear this thing out. I mean, I'm glad that we're able to attack this from many different angles, but yeah, man, I mean, if the draft was a month later, like say it was at the end of May, man, we'd all be in trouble, right? So, Gonzo, thanks so much for the call. It's great to hear from you. Since that was a short call, let's go ahead and get another one in. This one's from 6'7" from the west side of Phoenix. West side? 6'7". He's calling to talk about the draft and brings up a name that nobody's talking about from the quarterback position. Here he is, 6'7" from the west side of Phoenix.
Yo, Q, Raider Nation. It's been a minute since I called in. It's your boy 6'7" from the west side of Phoenix. I'm keeping hearing argument on Genty, Shador, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham. If it ain't Shador, it has to be Genty. Now, if Shador is not there and Genty is, we have to take Genty. Now, fast forward to round 2. We're going to take a quarterback the second round if we take Genty. Now, Pete Carroll took a quarterback out of Wisconsin by the name of Russell Wilson. At that time, nobody was talking about Russell Wilson. The comparable to Russell Wilson, to me, almost identical in height, is Dylan Gabriel from Oregon. Accurate quarterback, throws a deep ball, mobile enough. I mean, they're almost the same size, like 5'11", 6 foot, 205, same measurables. If you go look at the stats, they're almost the same quarterback. Now, why wouldn't he do that? Dylan Gabriel's got a great mentality, good leader. I'm saying we're taking Genty if Shador isn't there, and we're taking Dylan Gabriel, second pick, and he sits behind the G-man, Geno Smith, the 2 years, and then he's ready to roll. I appreciate y'all taking the call. Q, have a good day. Raider Nation, I'm out.
So, Genty if no Shador, and then take Dylan Gabriel. So, okay, so Shador's off the board. You go with Genty and then take Dylan Gabriel a little bit later. Well, you're right. Nobody's talking about Dylan Gabriel. I know he's great for his leadership. I know he's got plenty of experience in game film, right? College, he had plenty of games under his belt. He is a guy that's got a body type similar to Russell Wilson. I think that he's probably going to be a draft pick similar to Russell Wilson, where he goes, third round, maybe a little bit later. I haven't heard a big buzz around him though, right? The multiple times, even leaving the combine, it was like, yeah, he did okay. And of course, he's got the game film already. You already know what he brings to the table just from his game film. But I haven't heard a big buzz on where he's going to go. I'll talk to Mel Kiper Jr. on my radio show on Joe and Q on ESPN Radio at 2:30 Eastern time today. Normally it's 12:30, but he had to push back. So we'll talk to him at 2:30. I'll bring up Dylan Gabriel and get his thoughts. Like, what is he hearing, if anything, on the quarterback out of Oregon? So thanks so much for that. Definitely appreciate you. It's an interesting thought. That is for sure. Up next, we'll close out with this. A text from DJ Raider in Arizona. Look at that. Back-to-back Arizona. It says, morning, Q. DJ Raider from Arizona here. You're so right. You could definitely get lost down the rabbit hole with the mock draft business. But here's another stab at it. Decided to trade the sixth pick for more draft capital. Also, with all the smoke and mirrors flying around surrounding young Sanders, wonder if the Raiders, Giants, or Saints might not be facilitating this rise. I strongly believe if both Genty and Sanders are available at 6, the Raiders will definitely draft Sanders. Call it a hunch, coupled with the fact that Brady has spent quality time with them. Curious your thoughts. Locked on for life. Go Raiders. Just win, baby. That's DJ Raider in Arizona. I think that too. I don't want to push this narrative. I don't want anyone to think that, it's just all Q wants to talk about Shador Sanders. That's not the case. I think if he's there at 6, I think the Raiders will take him. But that's just my gut feeling, and that Tom Brady connection has a lot to do with it. It really does. So that's just me, but I'm glad that you picked up on that as well. As far as your mock draft, your first pick is at number 12, Teteroa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. 37, quarterback Jackson Dart. 44, Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback out of Notre Dame. 68, Alfred Collins, the big DT, defensive tackle out of Texas. 76, Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State. 108, Savion Williams, the wide receiver out of TCU. 143, Teddy Buchanan, linebacker out of Cal. 180, Marcus Tate, offensive lineman, the guard from Clemson. 213, LaQuint Allen, the running back from Syracuse. 215, Kalel Mullins, a running back from Michigan. And 222, Hunter Wohler, safety from Wisconsin. So you got two wide receivers, you got two running backs, a quarterback, two safeties, offensive lineman, OG, a guard, and a D tackle. Cornerback, yeah, I mean, look, a linebacker, you filled all the voids, right? You got a very good variety of players, that is for sure. And you end up with 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 11 picks. That's not bad. You started out with 9 and ended up with 11. That's not bad at all. So thanks so much for that. I appreciate you. One of many of the mock drafts that we've got here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. So we'll come back with some more calls and texts on tomorrow. We'll get more of your mock drafts as we close out the week really strong. We'll hear more from Mel Kiper Jr. And, of course, we'll have more news and notes. So we'll close out the week really strong, send you into the weekend the right way. Until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.